Let's start off by talking about exercise. How often do you exercise?
When you talk about exercise, I don't really exercise that much, but then I do other forms of exercise, if you can take that into the category exercise. So I like to dance, I like to do yoga, I like to go for a walk. So I'm sure that's included in exercise. So if you talk about that, I think every day, at least an hour. So yeah, I do like to take care of my body and I do like to invest in my body. Yeah.
What's your favorite exercise?
So I think I'd like to say dance because it's it's funny because it's mindless. You don't realize you're exercising. When you're dancing, it's just 1 hour of catharsis. You're just going and sweating it out, and you don't realize that you worked out for an hour. So yeah, I think I'll say dance.
Are there any exercises you do not like?
I wouldn't say I don't like. I do like lifting weights, but it's not one of my favorite part of the exercise. It's something which I find monotonous, something which I find cumbersome, something which I find boring. So yes, lifting weights.
Do you prefer to exercise indoors or outdoors?
I think both. When the weather allows, then outdoors. But otherwise, I'm more of an indoor person. I don't mind doing yoga every single day in my room. I know like a lot of people don't enjoy that. They need an environment, they need a setup, they need to go to the gym, which is also indoors. But I do enjoy indoors and I do enjoy just exercising in my home, in my room. And that being said, I also enjoy working out in outside facility as well. Like I like going for walks, like going for a run. So yeah, I think both.
Now let's talk about weekends. How do you normally spend your weekends?
Weekends, I usually have more classes. I'm a yoga teacher, so my weekends are not uh, a normal weekend for other people where they go out for lunches, dinners, and celebrate. For me, weekends are more heavy on work. But if I can say that Monday is my weekend or Tuesday is my weekend, then I like to watch movies. I really like watching Netflix and I like to spend time with my husband. I also like cooking. And that's the time which I get for myself. So, yes, I think I like spending it in the house and really giving that time to myself and my husband.
Do you like to spend your weekends in your local area or do you like to travel?
So, it depends. It's both. If I have a lot of time to myself, in the sense if I have 2 days off or 3 days off, I like to go out on a vacation, like a mini trip. So I like to go out, probably do like a picnic, go out to a park, or maybe explore any other countryside, any other city. But if it's a short duration, if it's only a day, then probably spend it in the house, like I mentioned earlier.
Are there any interesting things to do in your local area on the weekends?
Yes, there are a lot of coffee shops. And there's a coffee shop right beneath my house, so which is very popular in London. It's called Gales. So yeah, there are a lot of nice places around my neighborhood. But I wouldn't say that I like going to those places because they're very familiar. I would like to go to places which are a little away. So I would like to travel a little bit and enjoy the entire journey of reaching a place. But yes, my neighborhood is also quite friendly and social.
Do you prefer to go out or stay in at the weekend?
So, like I mentioned earlier, if it's a short weekend, if it's only a day and a half, then staying in is better for me. And because there are a lot of things that I need to finish, so I prefer staying in. But if it is a longer weekend, like in the sense that you also have a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's a 3 days, then I like to probably step out and probably explore other neighborhood cities and towns and villages here.
Now let's talk about reading. What was your favorite book when you were a child?
I can't go back that far, like when I was a child, but I do remember somewhere in school, probably towards the end of school, I loved this book called Many Masters, Many Lives. And I think I like to call myself an old soul because when I was a child, I still was very inclined towards spirituality. And I really liked to know where we've come from, where would we go after life, before death, those kind of things. So after death, after life. So yes, so that's, I think, a book which rings a bell, which I always get reminded of.
How often do you read?
So as of now, my reading is very education based. I have a lot of books on yoga, a lot of books on spirituality. I'm very less on fiction, but I try and listen a little bit of fiction as well. So I listen to the audiobooks. It's called Audible. So I have that app with me. So I think when I'm on the tube, when I'm traveling, it's always the Audible, the book which I listen to. And when I'm at home and when I'm trying to educate myself and I'm trying to know more about yoga, then it's probably, I think, overall an hour a day, or maybe sometimes an hour in 2 days.
Do you like to read when on holiday?
Depends. Like I said, most of my reading is education based, so I need to dedicate time to it, to just the reading part of it. But when I'm on vacation, then I don't like to educate myself. So it depends. But sometimes I do like to read. I think when I'm on a vacation, I'd rather go for just listening to a book.
And do you prefer to read physical books or ebooks?
I think I prefer to read physical books. I do have a Kindle as well, but I think it's been longest that I've touched it. I like to have the feel of it, to turn the pages in real. So I do prefer a physical book.
Now let's talk about history. Do you enjoy watching TV shows about history?
Yes, but I'd like to put it this way. I enjoy history, but I like more of the crime-based histories. There are a lot of events which have happened in certain countries, certain part of towns. So I like to know more about that. I'm very heavy on crime-based series. So yes, and sometimes I also like to watch just the history bit as well. Like I think I've seen that entire show on Netflix called The Roman Empire or something like that. But that's also because it's very heavy on drama. It's very heavy on the crime-based as well. So I think I do have an inclination towards that.
Did you enjoy studying history in school?
As far as I remember, I don't really have a clear memory of reading or learning history in school, which of course we did. It was there in our textbooks. But I think I grew more fond and more interested in history way later when I started reading about civilizations, when I started reading about different areas and regions and how the world was divided and then, invaded by different kingships, if I can call that. So yes, it was only later that I started getting interested in history. So it says, describe a time when you were late for something. So I'm usually a very punctual person and I can't think of any time when I was really late, but there have been a few instances. And one such instance was when I got really, really late was for my work. So I'm new to London and I've started teaching yoga over here. It's been about 6 to 8 months and I'm still understanding the tube work, like how does the commute work over here? How does the bus work over here? And also the timings and everything. So I'm still adjusting myself to the city. So there was this one class I was supposed to reach after 2 classes, which I was already taking in Angel. So there was this one area called Angel. I was taking 2 classes over there. Right after that, there was another class in another area and I was supposed to reach there. This another class wasn't mine, so I was covering for someone and I got like a last moment notification that, can you take this class? And I accepted it, really vouching for it and really saying that I will be there. It was very disheartening for me because by the time I wrapped up the studio and I left from there, I couldn't make it on time. And this is a big professional setback on my end because I shouldn't be doing that. And what happened was that I thought I'll take a bus. So I took a bus and by the time I was about to reach a certain location, I realized I've taken the wrong bus. So I got down and then I tried to take a train. So by the time I tried to reach the next best train location, I realized that the train station was shut. That is when I started panicking. I started looking for a cab and I started contacting my DM, which is like a manager who's always on call and checking if you're on time or not. And the DM told me this is really sad because it looks like I'll not be able to reach on time. And even 5 minutes late is late for students. So they started asking questions like, why is it that the train station is stopped, like in the sense it's shut? Because probably I think they weren't believing me in that moment. But later, when I described everything, I clicked pictures and finally they believed me. And when I reached...
That's the 2 minutes are
Okay.
up. Well done.
All right.
Okay. You've been telling me about a time when you were late. And we're now going to discuss arriving late and being punctual.
Right.
Is it rude to be late if you're meeting a friend?
In a way, yes. Because... I think I'll say if you're constantly late. If you're always late, it's a yes. It is rude because you're playing with someone's time. Someone has specially dedicated their time to you, and vice versa. Even you've dedicated your time to them. So in a way, yes, because that person could have done a lot of things in that much time. But also sometimes no, because you never know what is that person going through. I mean, in the sense, it's a friend, right? It's not a profession. Sometimes I've had my friends complaining that Aparna, it's all right. I mean, you can chill because we're just meeting for a coffee. So it's okay if they get a little bit late. If it's only like 10-15 minutes, it's fine.
What should happen to people if they are consistently late for work?
Well, I think it's a big no, because you're answerable for a lot of people and you have to deliver a job, a product, or something in that profession. And if you get late, it's not only you who's suffering, but it's also the entire company who's suffering because of you. So I think they need to learn how to manage their time well. And there should be some kind of a repercussion for that so that they are being more careful and mindful in the future.
What can people do to become more punctual?
Okay, so I have this trick, which is a lot of times I've noticed that people who are constantly late, they take the deadline as the deadline. For example, if they have to be somewhere at 10, they'll think, okay, I have to be there at 10. I'd like to put it the other way. I'll say, keep your time 15 minutes earlier. Say that you have to reach there by 9:45. Or probably 9:30 if you have a habit of constantly being late. That way you'll start getting ready earlier, you'll leave the place earlier, you're home earlier, and probably you'll be on time. You can set a time alarm, you can set a timer, you can really make use of these things in order to be on time, I think.
Now let's talk about work productivity. Is it better to work for long, interrupted periods of time or to take multiple small breaks?
In my opinion, I think to take multiple breaks, because it doesn't matter how long you're working. If you've refreshed yourself and if you have come to your full capacity, mental capacity to work, even if you work in short bursts, that could be more productive. And yes, I think that's what I think about work productivity.
Are open plan offices good for productivity?
What do you mean by open plan offices?
So, some offices have cubicles and they're closed, or offices that are closed, and then some offices are just tables in a big room and everyone can see each other working.
All right. Well, it depends. I'm not really sure how it works, because either it works for them because it's a very social environment, you can relax and you're not like really just into work, because that can also play with your stress maybe. But in a way also no, because then you have the chances to get distracted sooner. And if you're working in a closed environment, then you can probably take out that small burst of time which I was talking about and just dedicate it to your work.
Some people believe companies should move to a 4-day week. Do you think this would improve overall productivity?
I think I'm a big advocate for that, because I really feel there should be a good work-life balance, where you're working and also you have time for yourself. When you're constantly only working, which is like 6 days a week, probably that ways you don't have time for yourself, you don't have time for your family, you don't have time for your hobbies and interests, which plays a big role in your stress. So if you have 4 days a week, that means that you have more time for yourself. And by default, you will be able to focus on your work, because you've been able to take care of other parts and categories in your life,
Now let's talk about AI in the workplace. Which jobs are most likely to be affected by AI in the future?
I'm not sure, but I think maybe the film industry. I feel that a lot of the editing will be taken care of by AI, because I have noticed and I've come across a lot of people who are using only AI for editing on Instagram. So that just rang a bell in my head, because I thought, if that is the case, then probably the film industry will be the one which will suffer, because most of their jobs are done by human labor, right? So if AI takes over, then it'll make their jobs easier, but also take away jobs from their hands.
If AI takes millions of people's jobs in the future, how will society change?
Financially, I'm not very sure, because that will reduce the jobs for a lot of people, but I also feel that people will have more time to themselves and people will have more space to figure out the other kind of jobs that they should be doing. So in a way, a lot of workload, if you look with a positive perspective, a lot of workload will be taken away from them and will give them a lot more space to decide what would they want to do with their time.
And are there any positive consequences of AI replacing millions of workers?
I think this is very similar to what I just mentioned, that yes, you can look at it positively as well. But I did mention that I'm not very sure how will it play financially on people. But the positive side effect or positive effect can be that it can unburden or take away the burden from a lot of people and give them more space and time to utilize in other activities of their life.
So you're hoping to get a band 9, which is a very, very high score. What I will do is I'll give you feedback on part 1, part 2, and part 3 of the test, and then I'll give you feedback on the 4 marking criteria. So to get a band 9, you need top marks in fluency and coherence, grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. To thank you for making it this far in the video, I want to give you 10% off our VIP course. The IELTS VIP course is the most successful IELTS course in the world. That is a fact because we have more band 7, 8, and 9 success stories than any other IELTS course in the entire world.